welcome back, you cheeky devils out there, as we get back to the battle station for the Italic Stream Masters Katowice. And to my left-hand side, oh, Ben beaming his little face, saying devils. Anyway, Rotterdam and the Muslim here. Gentlemen, we're going to be talking about TY versus soO pretty swiftly, actually, because the game's almost ready. I want to get your thoughts. Rotterdam, starting with you. It's first place versus last place in this group, and you would never think soO was in last place in this group.
No, but we've also said many times that this group feels like the Wild Wild West for a lot of diehard StarCraft fan favorites. TY was maybe the one player that really did stood out. soO, it is a little hit or miss in some of these international tournaments. Of course, in GSL, he's one of the most consistent performers we have ever seen.
Yep.
Nothing but respect and love for those achievements. But when it comes to international events, soO sometimes kind of just bombs out early. And today, we're not there yet, but it's definitely looking dicey. There's no other way around it. This is a must-win series for soO.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Katowice is a tournament that soO hasn't succeeded in the past either, like getting knocked out by Harstem last year. Definitely a tough one going up against TY when you're already 0-2 down. And TY, he's a mad genius. soO's a mechanical monster. It's really a clash of titans here.
Yeah, TY on the other side of it, of course, 2-0 at the moment, having beaten Uthermal and Scala, I think.
Yep,
yeah,
you're
Scala. And a great start for him, to be honest. And I don't know if that's really going to slow down just yet. It's TY, he's a guy that's already had success on this stage before, and he's looking for it again.
Yep, but maybe the good news for soO here is that he does know TY very well. They've played a lot against each other historically, and, you know, bringing up results from the past sometimes doesn't matter that much, but they actually had a freaking best-of-9. That's a very long series.
Yeah, it is.
Just like 2 weeks ago, or not even, well, maybe like close to a month ago, but that's about it. soO took that one 5-2, so that's a pretty big convincing victory for him. That should give him some confidence, and maybe playing against a player that he's very familiar with as well, in the name of TY, maybe that gives soO some more confidence, because he knows he's beaten many times before, and maybe that's what he needs here to finally get things going here in Group D.
Yeah. And just moving on here for a moment, there are other games that are going to be going on, of course. We have Bunny versus Dia, which is going to be happening, and as well as Uthermal versus Scala, which we will update you on later on here in the broadcast. For now, though, let's head on into our next match. It's a hype one. It's TY versus soO.
Our third match here on the main stage for Group D. We have two of the most consistent players in their respective races. It's TY and soO.
G'day mates, time for some more TVZ action. Maynard and Pig here to bring you the commentary. We are seeing for the first time on the stage this year, Splice's TY going up against soO, who's already down 1 TVZ in this group so far, having fallen 1-2 to Bunny. What do you think about his chances in this one?
I think TY's chances are pretty good because he was doing a Hadoken in that little spinny video there.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a powerful move, man.
Could potentially be a Kamehameha.
Could be. It's going to be a good match, dude. I'm so excited. Honestly, TY and soO are big monster players here. I think TY has just been looking so great. And, you know, soO having a bit of a rough start to this group. A very rough start, in fact. He is trailing in last place right now, but this is his chance to turn it all around. 3 wins, 2 losses is what you aim for to get into that top 3 at the least. 2-3. It is possible, but the chances go down drastically. I really am excited to see what TY brings out, because unless soO goes for some wild all-ins, it's TY who gets to choose bio or mech, and it's soO who has to adjust accordingly.
Certainly is. We are just about to get into it, guys. We're keen to get into the StarCraft action as quickly as possible. TY, a big fan of this kid. He's the smartest Terran in the entire world, as Artosis aptly says all the time. And let's talk about him in the top right here of Automaton. It is Splice's TY. previous champion of Intel Extreme Masters.
And of course, facing off against the perpetual runner-up, one of the most consistent players in all of StarCraft II's history. In the right, the left-hand side, in the red, representing Chivo, it is soO.
That's right, he is on the right-left.
The right-left. More finals than any other player in StarCraft II, I believe. Definitely up there. He's got so many grand final appearances. Was obviously hasn't been in the grand finals of a Katowice though, soO. He has made it to BlizzCon a couple of years ago. Did fall to Rogue there in that grand finals. His ZVT, very strong, very decisive, and this is an interesting map for it. You know, it's got a wide open area through the middle and wide open ramps, lots of big spaces for Lingbane, flanks, and counterattacks.
Yeah, I like this map a lot for Zerg.
I feel like Terran players have just been doing really good on it, though. Despite that, I just see so much abuse of like the cliff positioning and that sort of thing, and soO not as backstab oriented as he used to be. I feel like a few years ago it was constant Ling run bys and that sort of stuff. More recently, I feel like he's been very frontally focused in his engagements.
Certainly has. TY getting up for the fast expand here. Just Reaper fast expand, nothing crazy. Going for an SCV scout with the CC going on the low ground. And the good thing about this SCV timing is that you can usually use the SCV with the Reaper to slow down the third base if you marry them up together very well. Something that Special likes to do, but of course a lot of Special's play is very, very similar to TY. They borrow off each other a lot.
Absolutely. TY, as DeMuslim keeps saying, a real trailblazer, a build creator, someone who goes into the laboratory and figures out new ways to disrupt the Zerg and Protoss opponents, and one of the best TVT players, actually, so he does disrupt his own Terran opponents as well. TY going to be using that SCV to block the third, just kind of checking around, making sure there's no drone hiding over to the right-hand side, and going to stop soO from taking a quick third base.
Yeah, I mean, it is about that time, 2.5 minutes, time for that third base. We have the Reaper just sort of dancing around the spawning pool here, using it as coverage to be able to dance around those lings, doing some little bit of damage. Good control from soO, though. There's that third base drone. Now the Reaper wants to come down here and help that SCV out. If you can get this drone killed, that'd be really nice.
And that drone, knowing that Reaper's on the way, runs off, gets to the extractor. The SCV unable to block that, of course. You always see the players trying to move in quickly next to the drone to stop it getting the building down. If you get right up next to the gas, it can't build the structure. There's no space for it. Ooh!
Nearly blocked, but nice drop there from soO. Managing to get the third base before the Reaper blocked it off.
That was cool. Nice little move there by soO. Overlord, drones, queens, all that stuff. 2 Marines out here for soO, trying to stop the Overlords. It's so funny on this map. It's like, where will the Overlord come from? Because there's so much space to cover.
Yeah, it feels like 2 Marines isn't enough. Overlord could come from the northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest, every direction.
Oh, look at this. Oh, this
is TY, man.
This is the 3CC 2-on-1. I love this build. Oh, this build is so good. We've seen it so much recently. I call it the 3CC 2-on-1 because, of course, you get out just a couple of Hellions, but then you've got the very early second barracks. So we're going to see Stim starting up, a starport going down in the near future, and then a couple of medevacs, 16 Marines and 4 Hellions will hit the Zerg's third base at about 5 minutes 50. So it's really quite a sharp timing attack. But unlike the regular 2-on-1 that hasn't even got a third CC started at that point, this build will be having the third CC landed behind that. Tons of SCVs and very quick double upgrades as well.
Quite greedy, which TY loves to do in this matchup. Great scouting Overlord from soO, though. Sees absolutely everything. Sees the tech lab spinning on the barracks and sees the third CC, and he knows exactly what this is.
Fast double Evo chamber is the response from soO there. So soO is going quick lair, going up 3 gases. DeMuslim was mentioning earlier, you know, there is this kind of meta difference in the styles. You'll see a lot of these Korean Zergs, they like to go normally for the very quick Bane speed and the delayed 1-1 upgrades. Allows them to get on top of these Marine pushes and shut them down. In this case, soO saying, you're being really greedy. I'm going to go the double upgrades and the tech and drone really hard. 0 defense on the ground. And one of the interesting things, particular to soO's play in recent history, is if we can get the units tab up, look at the queen count. His queen count, just 5 queens. Most players going 6, 7, 8 queens. soO sometimes even stops at 4. This means he can get both the tech and the worker count up, and he relies on his mobile combat units. However, if he loses these queens, he's very slow to respread his creep. So he's got to babysit those queens, got to take care of them, and his ability to respread creep in the late game, much lesser than someone like Scarlet.
I like this Reap there from TY going into the main base, sees the lair, sees that the drone coverage is well and truly done and dusted. soO's been loving this Spire Ling Bane play here. At least been showing us on stage and also online as well. So we're going to be seeing Ling Bane again with the Mutalisks in the sky for soO. TY going out for his first drop, as you mentioned. It hits around 5 minutes 50, 5:45. And with these Hellions also being a threat, soO needs to cover several angles here.
Yeah, the Hellions add some really nice splash damage to this as well, right? Because it's this thing where the Stim Marines represent threat, but just having that bit of splash to roast up the Zergans can be nice and frustrating. And TY is actually going to go for the multi-prong with it. He says, why attack in one place when I can poke 2 areas? The Hellions trying to slow down the creep on the right-hand side, and they'll also threaten the run-by on the third. The drop in the main is being spotted. The Lings are coming back. There's not many Queens here to help defend, but there are a few Banelings.
And a lot of Lings as well. TY's going to have to pick up and get on out of here. Loses a Marine or 2, but not the biggest of deals. The Hellions diving for that third base. The Queens of soO are in position. Can he get many drones here? Doesn't look like it. Just the one.
Good defense so far by soO, covering all of his bases. The Marines trying to focus fire there, but the attack has been held. A couple of Marines, a couple of Hellions went down. No big losses for TY. And remember, he's got 1-1 on the way. He's got combat shields on the way behind this. So this isn't terrible for TY. I'd say the victory for soO, though, is the creep spread. It's been untouched so far. It's spreading very well. TY is going to now rotate and have something to say about it.
He's touching that creep now, going for a scan, getting about 8 Tumors there, knocking them back. And these Queens don't have a ton of energy on them, so he'll have to get some higher energy Queens from before there. As you mentioned, he doesn't really have a whole lot of creep spread potential.
Oh, they actually got blocked. Okay, good. He did notice that. The Tumors back down. Really rough if you missed that. Baneling speed's already almost done. This is what we're talking about, this fast Baneling speed style the Koreans love. Muta's on the way, +2 carapace as well. So soO very well set up right now. He's got 68 workers, a 4th base on the way, as well as the macro hatchery.
Fake drop.
I love that. That's so cute.
soO has to take it seriously. If it has real units in it, then that is, you know, potentially a lot of damage. Could be full of Widow Mines. He doesn't know.
They're hurling insults out of the windows of that medevac for sure. They're like, come and chase us, Zerg. You guys stink. A lot of Zerglings actually still occupied chasing that. Mutas do finally shut it down, but at least that gives TY a heads up. And look at this beautiful setup here. The Marines are well spread out. 1-1 in shields isn't quite done yet. He'd love another 15 seconds before this fight happens. If TY gets that 10 seconds, shields is done. The 1-1 though, not ready. soO's gonna dive. He's got the double upgrade advantage.
And I really like this of soO as well. There's just this position on Automaton just has so much wide open space. You don't have terrain to hug those tanks next to. It's not like your, your Lost and Founds or your Dream Catchers where you have a cliff to put the tanks behind and defend. There's such an easy surround there for those Lings. Widow Mine needs to be taken seriously here from soO. Doesn't want to lose all those Banelings.
Yeah, good pullback by TY though. He's got a 4th CC on the way. He loves that early 4th CC and a sick worker count. He's actually got the worker lead right now, adding Thors. +2 bioweapons is on the way, as well as the vehicle armor. Now, I believe there's only the 1 factory. Is there a second factory up for TY is a big question.
Just the one.
Yeah, he's actually been loving this kind of mass bio style recently, where it takes him forever to actually get into the second factory in the mass Widow Mine. It's much more about just large amounts of bio pressing forward and lots of drop play. He's kind of, I feel like, embraced his inner Bunny. You know, Bunny's the sort of Terran who's bouncing around, dropping everywhere. TY started doing more of that recently.
Bunny's bouncing around. I like what you did there. The second factory will be getting a reactor on it. We will be seeing drilling claws and Widow Mines because it's just so strong against what soO's doing. No reason not to get it. The Thor helps out a ton. And with 2-2 upgrades on the way for the Terran, he's going to be able to stand and fight a little bit more. But, soO's just been so on top of his upgrades. Look how far ahead he is on these upgrades.
Yeah, that's a big lead there. The next while is going to give soO a lot of momentum and control. He's going to say, sure, come and fight me, dude. The next minute and a half, I am happy to engage. And he's got a big squad of Mutas up as well. Ooh, gets in there just seconds before the second turret finishes. And the SCV line, of course, can protect those missile turrets with the repair. And the Thor does get elevated up. Oh, actually, great pickup there by soO. TY does manage to ferry the Thor to the low ground, but it doesn't make a difference. There's no missile turret here either. This damage is huge.
Yeah, it certainly is. The bio comes into the main base to shoo away those Mutalisks, so they do eventually. But with 6 SCVs and a Thor and a medevac kill, absolutely nice damage there from soO.
That was huge. Still a good economy for TY. He's taken the 4th command center as well. He is one of the good late game players, and we've especially seen TY make incredible comebacks against soO in the end game. If he gets up to just turtling with ghosts and planetary fortresses, we saw Innovation obviously doing very well with that style against Serral earlier. These Marines going to take the Mutalisks for a merry chase and just waste a little bit of their time while he clears the creep on the right-hand side.
Speaking of which, the creep is looking pretty solid here for soO, considering the size of this map. Scanning forward is TY, just taking out a few of those creep tumors. Couple free bailings, nice, but nowhere near that much of a problem here. We got Concussive Shell on the way here for TY, and he isn't actually going for Drilling Claws. He is still getting Widow Mines, because it's, you know, a good thing to have against Ling Bane Muta, but he's just been making Thors and prioritizing tons of bio production.
Yeah, +3 weapons queues up almost immediately there, as well as the vehicle armor. Fantastic for Medivacs, Thors, and Mines. Does give them much more tanking ability. A few Mutalisks go down. Interestingly, soO rebuilds them instantly. That's fascinating to me, because he's at the Hive Tech stage of the game, and that tells me he isn't really too keen to go to Broodlords. He's just focused on the mobility for now. He's probably going to go to an insane Banelink count, and we might, just see the focus on the Ultralisk tech, so it's going to be a much more mobility-focused Zerg swinging in from all sides.
Why not? It's a pretty powerful thing to do. Catching some SCVs here, getting sent to the gold minerals.
Ooh, soO's in the top left, and TY is going down the bottom right. But
Okay.
soO does pull back. Okay, thought we might get into a really weird situation for a second there.
TY once again hitting the fringes of the Zerg's infrastructure, but once again there's a lot of creep spread and there's not a whole lot of terrain to hide behind. There's no choke points to tuck into. Drilling Claws is coming for TY, but it feels like it's so late. These Widow Mines will be so important here in this battle.
He's only got 2 mines here, not that many Marauders just yet. That's a ton of Ling Bane, Maynard, rolling in. A good spread from TY, but he is on creep. And the Banelings do crash through. The reinforce, though, is big. He's got a ton of bio production. And the second wave from TY there is able to hold its ground. Losing the Medivacs would have been a disaster, but as long as he keeps those alive, he can trade out the Marine Marauder like this.
And he's starting to get a few more Widow Mines here. Drilling Claws 3/4 of the way done, and with sheer bio numbers, he still has a fighting force. He's not out of this game yet. But soO is starting to get the strong tier 3 units up. Adrenal as well. 88 drones for the Zerg, and another big surround here with tons of Lings. Lots of surface area for those surrounds.
Nice Widow Mine shot, got a couple of Banelings there, but Marine Marauder being forced back for now. It is mostly just Zerglings there. The 3-3, the Adrenal Glands on the way. Trying to snipe down some of these extra command centers is soO. He's going to get one of them. Will he get a second one? Oh my lord, those Zerglings do insane damage.
Yeah, they do, but TY found an opening. An opening in the defense here. soO is going to kill his hatchery? Oh my god.
Very nice.
Nice big off. Oh, it's a shame that he lost that medevac there.
Don't get in a red hit point medevac over a sport crawler, guys. Those Marines, though, they definitely were worth their weight, taking down that base. soO immediately pops it back down. Then the upgrades to both sides piling on in. TY still hasn't thought about a Ghost transition just yet, and he's not dropping or sending in the Liberator harass that I was expecting. I really was expecting a bit more multi-prong harassment from TY, but he's once again just setting up these frontal pushes. His Widow Mine count is now growing a little bit.
Yeah, he's got a good number of Widow Mines here at the front now. Needs to micro well here in this battle, and Medevac's boosting back with a Thors in tow. The Widow Mine's being dragged by soO into the bio, though, and there's still so much Zerg remaining. He can even press the issue with his Ultras still very high in hit points, and the Muta's still darkening the skies.
Yeah, that's still a very scary army. The Planetary Fortress getting very low. The Mutas are going to be able to get that. Oh, wow. Too slow on the repair. TY losing the gold base, knocked back down to 4 expansions.
Still pressuring this hatchery. It looks like he will get it, but I mean, losing the planetary feels like it hurts more. So many Terrans actually get the planetary on the other side of the gold minerals because it's so hard to hold this side of them with the Zerg having all this surface area to work with. Looks like the speed upgrade for the Ultras, Anabolic Synthesis finishing up, and these Ultras are going to be speedy boys off creep.
I feel like TY's worker count not as high as we're used to seeing. Also, he's getting a lot more command centers for mules, but if he loses just 10 or 15 workers, his economy's in the dumps. Yeah, he's starting to rebuild more SCVs. I like that. He's really got to just cement his defense. Without Ghosts out yet, this is going to be really tough.
He doesn't have that much of an army on the ground. I think he has to cancel these CCs and pull way, way, way back. So much here from soO. He does have a Thor coming back to help out against the Mutas. He does have a couple Liberators as well. Zones the Ultras back very nicely, but again, had to cancel and give up this area. Please, TY, break down these rocks, kill that damn sensor tower, and put your planetary there instead.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting to your way of thinking there, Maynard. I mean, he doesn't really need the gas right now.
Boy, there we go.
He hasn't even
rocks down.
He hasn't even taken the gas on his 4th base, so he definitely doesn't need it over there just yet. Ooh, Liberators and Mines are exposed a little bit there. Muta's coming in along with those Ultralisks. The Marines and the Marauders are trying to stand their ground.
Oh, they're standing and fighting, but they're getting some big Kaiser cuddles from these Ultralisks. The splash damage from soO is so sick. He's doing so much to the army here of TY, and he is shooting ahead in the army supply, almost double that of the Terran. Grabbing this high ground here away from TY. His defensive stance has been cleft in twain. There's like 2 Ultras with 1 hit point there. They finally do go down. TY's reinforcements, are they going to be enough to hold on? I just don't think so.
Dude, Kaiser Cuddles, that's the stuff that Terran Nightmares are made of. That was a massacre. Yeah, the army's held, it's pushed back, but every single time TY is bruised. You mentioned it before, for a lot of this game, soO has been up at the 90 worker count. Yeah, he's only got 83 workers now. Only 83? What am I saying? He's still got a gigantic economy, so many bases, and he's realized because he spent so many drones building more hatcheries and gases, builds another 7 drones, back up to 90 workers for soO. Impressive economy. This allows soO to trade a little bit worse in these battles. As long as they keep taking fights and TY can't stabilize in a good defensive position, soO is getting further ahead with every engagement.
He certainly is. TY needs not only one great engagement, but probably a couple to be able to get back to even footing here against the Zerg, who's just spreading out of control in his corner of the map. TY holding on for dear life here on that high ground. Obviously, there's no creep spread for soO at the edge of the steps here, but there's still so much in the middle of the map that he can reinforce so quickly. And here he comes from 2 angles against TY. TY's got to pull back to a bit of a minefield here. But will it be enough? I just don't know. All these fresh mules at the gold base.
He's got to defend this base. If he can let those mules mine TY, maybe he could barely get an army together, but there's more Ultras and Banes where that came from. Just too much. The flood of Zerg overwhelms TY, unable to hang on, and soO decisive as ever. That's the sort of ZVT we're expecting from him.
GG, well played. soO's been looking like a complete monster at these online cups, and holy moly, he keeps hitting Innovation in the grand finals, and while Innovation didn't look incredibly impressive at this tournament, he did end up beating Serral in a best of 3. His TVZ is pretty fantastic, pretty spot on, and soO is going toe-to-toe in grand finals. In fact, for Elite League Winter, it was a best of 9 that went all the way to the 9th map. soO has the gumption to beat any Terran in Korea.
Yeah.
TY, while he is a god in this matchup, in every matchup really, is one of the best Terrans in the whole world, he's certainly it's perfectly reasonable to see soO getting a 2-0 here.
Absolutely. You know, I'm not sure if I can fully get behind the way TY played that style there. When you're doing a frontal push, I feel like the Widow Mines throughout the whole mid-game are such an important piece of that. If you're ahead and you've just got enough Marines and Marauders, sometimes it's okay, but we were seeing those armies pushing onto creep with 1 or 2 Widow Mines, and soO just had such a good start. He had a good build-up, and he was overwhelming those pushes. I would have loved to see just a few more drops coming in the sides. I feel like TY can make those pure bio pushes work if he's kind of picking up and boosting away when it turns bad, and he's dropping the side bases to pull the Mutalisks away at the same time. That's where I think the Terran finds the efficiency. The Mutalisks can't be in multiple areas at once, but because he was pushing in one direction, the Mutas were able to capitalize on his army. The Ling Bane was always able to flank in, and I feel like there was just a few too many crushing engagements for soO.
I actually agree with you 100%. I think there's almost no reason as a Terran when you're going for that style to concentrate all your forces into one push. Whether you have a nice spread or not, it's just too easy, especially on Automaton, for soO to get a big surround or Zergs to get a big surround. Oh man, the top left. And the top left is going to get spicy here. Going for a proxy, it is Splices TY.
Already sending some SCVs across the map. A very aggressive maneuver. Definitely going to be keeping this guy on his toes. Down here in the bottom right-hand side in the red, he is soO.
Represented by Team Chivo. And, I mean, this is looking like the...
The last 7 times I've seen soO proxy barracks, I've seen him scout it with one of his first overlords, like very early on. He has some of the most reliably safe overlord paths, and he spots it once again. And he doesn't show the overlord yet. He's gonna go around the edges. Overlords have longer vision.
Really wonderful for soO.
I think he might just go, let's see. Oh, he's going for the gasless version. Okay, no gas. So yeah, he's just going to go for the spawning pool here, probably plonk down a spine crawler as quickly as possible, and 5 drones to try and get those barracks.
Well, the SCVs are sort of stuck in the middle here, so we can't get to them, but they will RNG to the edge of these structures eventually. And if the SCV gets taken out, that's a nice cancel there. I mean, he has to force barracks to go down.
I mean, he had 2 angles covered, so I thought he might just hope that the second SCV would kind of go into one of the spots where it couldn't be reached.
This is obviously a bit of a rough start for TY, but honestly, it's not that game. That's not that game changing. He's going to get a CC pretty quickly. He also took a gas behind this. This isn't the gasless 3 racks bunker rush, which is quite all in. He can actually get a factory relatively quickly.
Yeah, this is the Maru style, right? Where you're looking to just kind of get rid of the expansion. You've got very quick Hellions and Banshees behind it. But guess what? I mean, you make a Reaper, you can float the barracks home, he's got the CC on location, might even make a second Reaper. I think this is actually a really cool response because seeing that drone pool, he knew that soO has not been mining gas very early in this game. No gas means no Zergling speed, means no threat of counterattack. And even though TY doesn't even have a wall to his main base, he knows that he can actually just change gears, be the flexible, adaptive player he is, and go back into a macro style.
And there's that factory going down as, I mean, around the same supply. Normally it's like 20-ish supply when the factory goes down, but in this case, with the opening of TY, it's going to be around 23. Again, not the biggest of deals, but soO's coming across the map with these Lings. Again, as Pig mentioned, no gas has been mined for a while, so speed has only just started. 2 slowed Lings is not too scary to TY at all.
All this being said, you know, I'm trying to paint a picture of how TY can play it from here. And we've definitely seen, especially players like Maru, almost seems to always win from here when their barracks get scouted. But it is still difficult, right? It's still hard, and soO's a player where if he gets any little bit of freedom, he's prone to running away with the game very quickly, right? He's a player who gets these big swells of units and just runs in and takes you down with a big Roach Rush or a gigantic swell of Zergling Baneling. So definitely TY gonna have to play a very clean next few minutes in this game. He is putting on second gas, a lot of minerals sitting there, and it is gonna be the Starport follow-up. I think a quick third CC is kind of what you've got to do from here as well.
And there it is, right next to the main base. TY agrees with you. You know what that means? Because TY is the biggest, sexiest brain in the whole world, that means you've got the biggest, sexiest brain of all the casters.
You hear that, Muslim? That's right. Definitely the #1 Terran analyst here at this tournament. Mr. actually legit good Muslim.
Actually incredibly good Terran. We have the Reaper of TY getting the main base of soO for a bit of a scout here, getting his first bit of information. Speedlings, what Speed is done, is going to pressure these SCVs. Getting a couple of SCV kills here is actually quite nice.
Yeah, that's a nice disruption there. And his Hellion still just not quite there. And ooh, second SCV, third and a fourth going to go down as well. Juicy pickups here for soO. Very nice, and it's costing him next to nothing.
Yeah, down go those Lings, but for 5 SCVs, absolutely worth it. Lair going down here for soO without the third base even being finished yet.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a good work account. It is going to be, okay, it's just playing the exact same style as previous game. I was about to say, I kind of, with this advantage, want to see soO just build a Roach Horn and make like, 40 Roaches with Roach Speed +1 and just win, because I feel like now, after those 5 workers and one of the barracks having to be cancelled, I'm kind of just shaking my head and going, I'm playing against soO. This is the guy who runs away with games very quickly when it feels like an even opening on both sides. Now, this is a real trench that TY has to dig himself out of.
He's going for an armory here, which denotes that he's probably going to go into battle mech. So that's getting dropped down here. Tucked in the back of the corner of the main base. Yeah. Going to the Hellbats. You actually see a scout here from soO, but he's going for a fake upgrade.
You know, Hellbats can be really good against soO style. I mentioned before he plays low Queen. He's got a Baneling nest, but Banelings aren't the most efficient way of dealing with Hellbats. Unless all the Hellbats sit in a clump and eat the Banelings, like, all at once, it's never the worst trade for the Terran. So I like the ability to create some threat here. You can sometimes, hit 2 bases at once and kind of wedge them in the minerals. The combination of the Liberator as well is going to be very nice. It has been spotted, though. The creep already out so far on that northern path for soO.
We'll see if soO saw, if he actually saw it. It was on the edge of the creep, but did he actually see it? The Liberator's coming around. Hellbats are engaged, and in they come.
Baneling's only now morphing reactively. Hellbats trying to get on top of these Queens. Good micro notice, pulling the Queens back, keeping them split apart so that they don't get focused down. He misses the transfuse. Uncharacteristic miss micro there from soO, but their Hellbats are beginning to fall. Liberator starting to get some damage on the back of the natural, but perfect control with the Queen. It voids the zone, snipes it down.
The drone's stacking up a little bit here. A lot more drone kills from these Hellbats of TY. 14 drone kills in the end. Very, very nicely done.
And TY has lost exactly elite resources. 1337, a sign of how good a player he is. Honestly, that was very nice. He needed those kills there to get back close to a position we can play from in this game. Now, we've seen Kumiho earlier today play some of the sickest comebacks in this matchup with Battle Mech. So even though TY had a rough start after those worker kills, I feel like that really resets the position. He's got the landed Viking. Just any bit of damage he can find.
This is the TY I know and love. Multitask. He's got a Liberator on that third base as well, which is heading towards the third base while hitting with the Viking and the natural, while going for a Hellbat attack at the front line as well. The Queen's getting spread a little thin here.
This is very nice play.
No transfuse again.
Really disrupting soO. As I said, not having a lot of Queens there. It's been a tough Paul to defend these pushes. These queens are slowly going to do it, but it's taking up so much of soO's APM. More drones falling. Is that another Liberator?
Yeah, this Liberator's been bouncing around
man.
between the main and the third, being very annoying, splitting soO's attention. And this is actually not battle mech from TY, this is regular mech, vanilla mech, if you will. He's going for +1 attack, he's got extra factories back at home, and he has double armory already.
I don't know, man. I like the vanilla mech. You know, it's beautiful, the traditional style here. I'd love to see a couple Thors on the way. He's seen that this fight is almost done, and it's just not stopping. soO just cannot get on top of this.
Yeah, TY is just spreading soO so thin. Look at these Liberators being multitasked in 2 places at once while Hellbat attacking at the third base. Good old TY, man. Look at this kid go.
Oh, man. soO is just getting pulled from side to side. I keep expecting the pressure to die down, and it's like, no. 3 minutes later, it's still going. soO gets a tiny backstab, kills a few SCVs, but guess what? TY has his 4th command center on the way. He's got Thors coming out on the map. He's got his armory upgrades on the way. Like, this is such a sick pullback in this game. A terrible start for TY, but now he's in a pretty okay position. The double Thor, I mean, it's coming out. As long as he's got medevacs, I think he should be okay, because he doesn't have any turrets up just yet.
Yeah, he did make the medevacs earlier, wanted to go for the Thor drop, but obviously with these mutas being out, if he sees them, he's going to keep them at home to shoot them away. He doesn't have much anti-air at all. Yeah. He's going up into 5 factories right now. soO going for the Hydra Den, and he has to know that this is mech, so...
Muta's going to come in and find a tiny little bit of damage there, but that engineering bay, the missile turret does finish up.
Boom, boom, boom.
I love that. There's just something about the boom, 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 those four javelin missiles all landing in together. The double volley does do well, and of course you can now counter pressure as TY, because mutas are not good at fighting Thors. You've got a ton of Hellions on the ground to deal with Zerglings. Roach is only now starting up for soO. I'm not even sure if he has Roach speed ready.
I don't think so, actually. He's only just started it.
Oh, that's bad. That's going to make it even harder to close in with these Thors. The medevacs are going to add some much-needed micro ability to this. The push coming forwards, he'd love to get a cancel on this 4th base.
He certainly would. Ling's going to be pretty useless here against this army. Roaches will be a little bit better, but again, they are going to be a little bit slower. TY getting pretty greedy here with this extra CC on location, but he is still pressing the advantage here at the front, and with those medevacs, as Pig mentioned, he can micro that Thor back. Oh, saving the last possible second there.
I would have loved to see a Hellbat morph here, and does end up saving these Thors on red hit points. Both of them just barely surviving. Going to be nice and greedy and keep looking for more damage. He got the cancel on the 4th, and oh, it's not over yet.
It's a barbecue. He gets into the natural, the drone splitting as well as he can, but these are blue flame +1 attack Hellions. They are getting drone kills. 8 going down, 9 going down. One more volley, he doesn't quite get it. 9 drones going down, and soO is on 60 drone economy with a Terran heading towards 76 workers.
What a turnaround in this game. soO just unable to deal with the Hellbat Liberator pressure. TY so good at bouncing those Liberators around, and not only that, but being brave enough to commit to many, many Liberators in that harassment. That counter harassment did it for him. He's up to 5 bases now. Has forgotten to keep building that one.
4 and a bit. 4.25, I think.
What do you mean 4.25? No, literally. It's built 25% and it's not getting built anymore.
So he's going for the Great Aspire. Now, Broodlords are pretty fantastic against mech, so it's up, the onus is on the Terran to either go for a big number of Thors or for a big cluster of Vikings, and to be able to avoid the parasitic bomb damage. And that's going to be the later stages of the game that soO's going to try and get the edge in. He is expanding quite a bit. Generally, against a mech player, you can do that. Hatcheries don't take too much damage from Hellions, but the Thor drop is a looming threat.
Okay, I really like getting a 7th command center, but I do think TY should actually be pushing. Like, right now, like you know you've hamstrung your opponent.
Like, slow down, dude.
Let's go push at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing on the ground. He's so far ahead in army supply, he doesn't even need to siege the tanks to win this fight. But he's got to go before the Broodlords morph just to make sure he's got the dominating position. He's got the sick army. He's 190 supply. He's got a great economy behind it. His 2-2 is going to be done real soon. I'd love to see TY just close this game out now and not give soO any more chances.
Spore out of position again, and once again, these Liberators are finding an opening. soO late on that drone pull back on that base at the 3rd as well. He's going for a Roach counterattack. Roach speed is done, but these Liberators are getting so many drone kills, and TY's going for a massive push.
Yeah, soO is going to try and get a defense together. He's got a bunch of Corruptors not morphed into Broodlords yet, a handful of Roaches and Hydras, which don't even have full upgrades yet. This is an impossible engagement. All he can do is buy time. soO's going to try and pull back and separate, engage a few Hellbats at a time. His Roach counterattack is starting to get in and do a little bit of damage to TY, but it's not meaningful because this push here is just so huge. and already 25 drones have fallen.
This push looks game-ending. So many Thors here. The Corruptors and the Vipers actually can't get anywhere near the battle. These Vipers are full of energy, but they're getting nailed by these Thors here. One of them about to die. And TY is just going to continue to press the issue. One Blinding Cloud gets dropped. It's actually quite a nice Blinding Cloud, but still so many tanks and Thors remaining.
Single Broodlord says, yeah, here's a few Broodlings, and the Thors say, what was that, buddy? What was that?
I can't hear you over the GG. 1-1. Tied up series here. Very nicely done by TY, showing that his mech muscles are quite large.
Large and in charge. That was a beautiful play there from TY. For anyone who was there looking at the start of that game and going, really? Really, we're going to see another 0-2. He gets his barracks found. He loses 6 SCVs to a couple of Zerglings running into the natural. I know the part of my heart that was cheering for TY here was a little bit sad watching how that game was going, but that turnaround has given me fresh hope and confidence. There's a reason he's the favorite for the entire group. TY, an absolute legend, brings that back, ties it up 1-1.
Pretty keen to see how the third map is going to look, and in fact, what map it would be against TY and soO. Seen a lot of new repugnancy. But it is it's a map that soO seems to like as well, with his Lingbane style.
Well, I do like that path on the very top or bottom of New Repugnancy.
The hidden shaft.
Yep. The Maynard secret corridor, yeah.
That was to Muslims, actually.
Okay, it was to Muslims, all right.
I was just along for the ride on that one, with that map analysis. Don't blame me for that one.
All right. We do have, of course, the next map would be something like that. Year 0, not something you're going to see too often in the Terran matches, simply because it's so huge. The Terran players not wanting to push across that. It's so hard to get up in amongst the Zerg's economy.
It's a tough one.
Gumiho's the exception, right? That was the mass battlecruiser game. That was year 0, right?
Yeah.
He's like the one guy who's like, yeah, I'll play the biggest map in the pool against Zerg. Like, yeah, I can get mass BC, and hey, pulled it off.
That's the wonderful thing about battlecruisers is it doesn't matter how big the map is. They have tactical jump, man. They just appear from one side of the map to the other. No problem. Easy peasy.
Yeah, well, I mean, how do you think they colonized other galaxies without the ability to do that? It fits with the lore. It makes sense. And blink across the entire map. Everybody's favorite fun ability. Love the fact that BCs can shoot while moving. I think I'm dreaming, talking about battlecruisers here, but we can all hope that this guy up here in the top left-hand side decides to build some of them. Representing Splice, the Blue Terran, give it up for TY! Pray for battlecruisers.
And at the bottom right here, this is Team Chivo's soO! It's already been an incredibly entertaining series. In fact, today has just been sick games after sick games, dude. There's been upsets, there's been weirdness, but you can't argue that it hasn't been entertaining.
Not at all. It's been back and forth, lots of action-packed games. And don't get me wrong, there's been a few quick games, but the great thing with the way we have this event set up is there's 3 streams going at once for pretty much the entire time. There's so many games going, and we've got, of course, all those live crosses over on the laptops and all that sort of thing. So it's just non-stop action. The game's continually lining up in a good way. Here, Port Alexander. I got to ask you a question, Maynard. Can we call this the overgrowth of the current map pool yet?
I think it's pretty safe to call it the overgrowth of the current map pool, slightly turned at an angle.
Yeah, it's like, it might not necessarily look like overgrowth. Like, yeah, there's some similarities turned at an angle, but we see it every single series, right? Like,
I mean, the last map was on turned on the side and above water abyssal reef.
Yeah. Shout out to those map creators who put thousands of hours into making beautifully unique things, only for terrible casters to simplify them as we do. We're like, oh yeah, it's like overgrowth, and we just turn it to the side of it.
Speaking of maps, there's actually a Team Liquid map contest on right now. If you guys want those precious maps that you love so much to stay in the ladder map pool, and you want each season's map pool to look as good as possible with the best maps possible, do vote. I think the voting might close soon, or, I mean, if it already has closed, I apologize. It's something I should have brought up earlier, but it's a super big initiative for the community to actually decide what maps they want going forward.
Yeah, very cool. We do see a lot of creativity coming out there from the community. Of course, the action is about to start with the Reaper coming in and having a little bit of a poke around. Now, this map, there's no jump-in path into the main or anything like that. The Reaper's going to be very conservative, very careful, and he's going to look for a Zergling kill. soO, good control. Ooh, does lose one.
There's a Ling here. What a scrub.
And that's why we enjoy sitting here.
That's why we
watching from the
commentate.
sidelines.
Yeah. We're like that meme of the old guys in Parliament House sipping their whiskeys and arching their backs laughing.
Indeed. And at this point, soO going to move out to take that third.
Yeah, TY can't do nothing about that.
Wants to be tricky with it, but oh no, doesn't block it with the SCV there. Slightly misplaced.
Ever so slightly. We got a Marine here trying to stop the Overlord from getting anywhere near the main base of TY, or at least getting anywhere near the production. Excuse me, it's been a long day in my throat. Just needed a bit of a break there.
Say that as I am taking a sip of my water here. I'm like, sorry, Maynard, I can't cover for you right now. No, the Hellions, the Viking coming out. I like the Viking. Deny some vision there. And yeah, we've got no stim started or anything like that just yet. Just keeping an eye on the production here. A lot of different things that can happen from this moment in time. soO looks like he's pretty set on opening up with the same build order every game. Gets these creep streamers started very aggressively early on. And that's kind of, as I said, he doesn't get a super high queen count, but his early creep streamers are still very, very quick, and they're spreading constantly. Because he's so perfect with that, he still has this awesome creep spread into the mid game. So these 3 queens at the front doing a good job. And oh, Maynard, the production tab's getting me very excited right now. That is concussive shells.
I think it might be fake. He's getting an armory.
Nope. Is it? Oh, yeah.
I mean, last game
he did queue up a Marauder, right?
Nope.
Yeah.
What?
You're right. He didn't queue up a Marauder. Awesome.
Pig's getting excited, guys. I gotta pour cold water over him.
I was so excited. You know when you land the Viking?
Yeah.
You go with like 3 Marauders with shells, and you
It's actually a build TY loves. Like he did it at BlizzCon.
He invented it, I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Getting load up the medevac with 4 Marauders, go across the map with Hellbats, and just overwhelm, kill the queens, kill everything else.
Same build as last game then, I guess. Just off obviously a better opening for TY. So soO's got to step up his defense.
Yeah, he certainly does. I mean, he got the bamboozle last game. That's, that's a fool me once, fool me twice situation here for soO.
Ooh, and of course, with the medevac, you can start to morph Hellbats at the third base and the main base at the same time. Baneling Nest isn't done. How many queens are on the map right now? One's about to pop. That brings us up to 6. Still, when those Hellbats are in 2 different locations, that's not an overwhelming number. And with no Baneling or Roach techs, this is going to be very difficult to hang on against. Already a few workers going down, and that Hellbat morph with the medevac healing is very dangerous.
Hellbats here at the third base as well. soO needs to split his forces, and he needs to split them well, and he needs to control them well. Hellbats are incredibly deadly to Lings on their own. The queens are so important. It seems like they're all in the main base. The Hellbats shred through those Lings, and the drones are the next stop. soO not reacting. He's going to lose a few drones here.
The Viking landing, and he's going to try and finish off a few of those. Still some Hellbats alive in the main base. These Hellbats causing a bit of an evacuation. That Liberator did take a fair bit of damage. This time around, soO's defense has been much cleaner. Nonetheless, lots and lots of mining time going down, and a couple of Hellbats still looking to be annoying in that main base. Gonna get in the wedge it in the minerals. Ooh, doesn't quite get wedged in between the mineral patch, but he's gonna drop it there. Nicely done.
Good luck with that one. Oh, soO, no.
It's a barbecue.
He's losing so many Lings.
It's a barbecue.
soO, no. He's lost all of his Lings there at the main base. I think he was looking at the Liberator over here at the third with more Hellions coming in. TY once again putting his foot on the gas pedal and not taking it off.
Oh, you want a couple of drone skewers with that? Man, that was brutal. So many Zerglings and drones going down. It looked like soO had defended it. And just that single Hellbat in the main, clearing so many Lings. Finally, the medevac goes down. The lib goes down. soO's going to heave a sigh of relief because at least he gets control over his little portion of the map. But that was huge damage. That was so sick.
A sigh of relief when you lose this many drones and Lings. I think he'd be vomiting in his shoes right now. He'd be feeling horrible. This game's not started very well for soO at all. TY going up for that second armory. Once again heading towards Vanilla Mech here. Roach Warren once again for soO.
Yeah. I like this. Tanks on the way now. Armory on the way as well. Third base floating down. TY's got a beautiful setup. He's leading. 20 supply. Only down a handful of workers, but with Triple Mule dropping, that's an income lead for TY. With his production getting established and soO not even having his Evo chambers started just yet. This is a beautiful position for the Terran who's he's not gonna give any slack. He's gonna keep going. Lots of Hellions. What do you got to deal with it? A couple of Queens, a couple of Lings and Banes. Not the perfect units to deal with this.
Certainly not. We're in first-person cam here at TY.
Good Baneling.
Nice Baneling connections, definitely. He gets a lot of damage there on those Hellbats. A Queen is helping out against this Liberator, but once again, TY has not got one Liberator, but 2, hitting several mineral lines at once. And he's just getting those extra 5 factories, well, getting up to 5 factories, I should say. Just continuing to macro on back at home while getting harassment damage and always keeping an eye on these liberators. Look at that speed. Look at that multitask from TY.
This is what it feels like to be really good at StarCraft, guys. You can macro flawlessly, adjust your SCVs, micro liberators in 2 different locations, and split Hellbats against Banelings all at the same time. These first-person view jump-ins are just an absolute treasure. I love the chance to just see their first-person view for a moment there. soO does hang on once again. He stabilizes, says, I got my 3 bases, I'm okay. But is he really okay? 1-1 upgrades just started, doesn't even have a 4th base on the way. He's down in workers, and TY's production is in full swing.
Yeah, 5 factories worth of production to get those extra tech labs. He's getting hyperflight rotors.
And 2 engineering bays.
What?
I think he forgot about one.
Yeah, I
he
was
just
gonna
wants
say,
turrets, right?
I mean, if he starts 1-1 on his engineering bays, I will actually just lose my mind.
I was like, please don't style that hard, TY.
There's
no reason to do it. He's like, I'm swapping into ghosts at the 8-minute mark. I'm like, no! No, the speed banshees, on the other hand, that actually does make sense. Of course, you need the engineering bay for the missile turrets, so he's worried about mutas coming out. He's just making sure he's completely safe there. And TY with a very good setup. And we might look at the supply and say, oh, I mean, he's done so much damage, he's barely even ahead. This Zerg race is pretty good. You got to remember, these are roaches. So if you want to see a unit that really, its supply is inflated, its damage is very, very low. TY, on the other hand, has some of the most efficient units in the game. The mech units, tanks, Hellbats, Thors, Banshees. These units are incredibly high damage, lots of splash, and something which gains value in a lot of these fights as they get bigger and bigger. Meanwhile, the roaches, they're only really good in small skirmishes. As they get to max out engagements, they really don't carry their weight.
I like the Swarm Hosts a lot more, though. This is a good unit to throw into the composition for soO. Locust can trade for free. It fires out free units every few seconds. Well, by a few seconds, I mean like actually a fair chunk of time, but it fires out Locusts, which can do free damage, and then as long as you're keeping the Swarm Hosts at bay and you're keeping them out of harm's way, they continue to get more and more value for you as a Zerg with these upgrades.
Hellions going to come forward, scan, start to take out some of these creep tumors. And Hellions having a little bit of a rotation around. The Roaches pushing them back. Good creep assertion of map control by soO. And as you said, you know, Swarm Host a good choice. I absolutely agree with that. You know, if you can ever find the tanks away from the Hellions, bam, suddenly you're back in that game. soO here is getting scanned. The scan seeing no hive in the main base. That's big.
It's a big tell.
Says, what are you up to? Okay, Hellions see the Swarm Host. He knows exactly what he's up against.
Hellions also seeing a drone line, getting a few here. Nice catch from soO over there. Oh, gets a tank as well at the 3rd base. Nice pick off as well. Locust also finding some SCV kills. TY bringing down those Hellbats, which are very, very effective against the Locusts. Both players doing a little bit of econ damage to each other. And TY has SCVs to spare, and these Hyperflight Rotor Banshees have caught the Swarm Hosts.
Yeah, 2 or 3 Swarm Hosts going to go down at least here. And whilst the Queens do come forward,
Transfusion's nice.
3 Banshees are building at a time, Maynard. When you're relying on 5 or 6 Queens to deal with Banshees, suddenly there's going to be 7 and then 10 Banshees out for TY. They are going to destroy the Queens. Banshee's one of the highest damage units in the game, and they're looking to push back soO's map control.
I'm amazed that TY hasn't actually gotten Infernal Pre-Ignited like Blue Flame for these Hellbats. They help out a lot against these, you know, not only drones, but also Locusts.
Yeah. I definitely agree with you on that one, Maynard. A very important upgrade. They would be helping out quite a bit here. The mech upgrades, 2-2 is on the way now as well. Starts Blue Flame, realizes he's been missing it for a little while.
Oh, whoopsie daisies.
soO pushing him back. Now, soO here, he's got to be really efficient with these Locust waves. Remember, there's a gigantic cooldown on it. I think he's gone up to only about, is it 16 Swarm Hosts? Usually he likes 16, yeah, 16 Swarm Hosts. So he wants to make a few more Ravages, and he's going to look for opportunities to land Corrosive Bile whenever the Terran army is kind of running away from the Locusts. And, uh-oh, where's the anti-air at? Where's the anti-air? A single Queen's not going to cut it.
She's going to try her best. Sister's doing it for themselves, but it's not enough. The Banshee's just going to chase down these Swarm Hosts, which are desperately trying to get down to Spore Caller coverage.
Nice, that's going to push back control of the middle, and that's where the Swarm Hosts lose their efficiency. I think soO's got bank. He needs a Nidus Worm, surely, with these low efficiency Roaches and such a huge pack of Swarm Hosts. He needs a way to get in the production of TY later on. Right now, though, there's more pressing issues. It's a gigantic army of tanks and Hellbats and Banshees on his doorstep.
Yeah, and a lot of Hellbats to cover those tanks again. The Locusts as well. The Locusts are coming in, but there's not that many Locusts getting anywhere near these tanks. The Biles are going to connect. Nearly kill a tank, but not quite. TY's entire army is still alive, apart from a couple of Hellbats dying there.
Yeah.
This is a scary push, dude. He's even got SCVs for repairing these hurt units.
Okay, 2-2 and Hydra range is going to finish. That's going to help against the Banshees. I just don't know if there's going to be anything left. There's so many Hellbats out as well. The Thors, the tanks adding so much damage, and these units going down just a few at a time. The Banshee DPS is off the chain. The Ravagers disappearing. Queens all being pulled to the front. Those are the ejecting queens. Every last queen is falling here. The Banshee count still standing relatively strong. Mass Hydra is on the way. TY still has not managed to break into the production, but he's got a lot more tanks. The problem is, where's the Hellbats? Where's the Hellbats, Maynard? This is a good wave of Locusts. This might finally be what soO needs to break this position.
It may be. He's going to get a few tanks here for sure. TY's Banshee's actually DPSing these Locusts to death, and he still has a big tank line remaining. soO also bleeding out some of these Swarm hosts. TY's producing a lot of Hellions. It looks like they're not actually joining in the fight, though.
The
Here they
tank
come.
shots, though, on the Hydras doing massive damage. soO's rally's bleeding in, and he needs this Locust wave to push this back. If this push stays in this location any longer, TY is just getting too much damage here while securing his entire side of the map. He's up to 5 bases with a ton of extra command centers finishing up behind.
Oh, soO, don't get too close with these Hydras. And he takes a big shelling there from those siege tanks, which do have plus to attack. They are hitting so hard here against this Zerg force. TY also clearing up a bit of the creep on the way through. He's actually denied so much creep from soO. Look at the big hole that he's carved in this creep spread of soO.
Yeah. There's a few creep tumors which he just barely missed with his scans, but Hellions happy to engage those Hydralisks, especially with the tanks there as well. 3-3 is on the way now for this mecha army. The Swarm hosts looking for value. Remember, those Locusts are essentially free in terms of resource cost right then. The problem is time, and that's what soO doesn't have. Every moment he doesn't have those Locusts ready to launch, TY pushes through, spreads the creep back. His Banshee's taking out these Ravagers. Those are so expensive, he can't afford to lose those Ravagers.
I think this might be a game-ending push, man. There are some Ravagers piling, but they're not connecting. The Locusts not really finding the damage that soO needs, and TY is in range of production, in range of the Evo Chambers, in range of the Swarm hosts that are all stuck behind the Queen.
They're stuck in a corner! Oh no!
GG. TY started off that series so rough. soO really taking it to him in Automaton, but playing mech for the next 2 games in a row and just getting the win. Nicely done by TY.
Beautiful comebacks there. That was beautiful. Just nice plays there by TY and bringing out the traditional mech in an age where a lot of players are massing Cyclones. TY says, you know, this style is still really good, right? I'm just going to do Hellion run-bys. I love the addition of the 3 Starport Banshee there. Massive amounts of damage and, you know, just beautiful harassment opening. I can't wait to see even more of these games in Group D here at IEM Katowice.